Well, that's 8 too high, I believe. Not to knock my camera off the porch. I guess the thing that I'm realizing right now is that once again, interactions with the police did not work out terribly well. They were much kinder here, more professional, etc. in many, many ways. The last time I had stuff, the last 2 times that I had stuff of mine taken in a police investigation, it was never returned, and no means of return were evidenced. Things just didn't come back. Here at least stuff came back. But the fact that it took, 4 months? More than that? Nearly 5? Before they released it. All right, fine. Investigation, whatever. The paper that she wrote, had I been able to read that, that would have saved me a lot of wondering and guilt, maybe, and a bunch of other things. Now, I didn't know it existed at all because they came asking, whether there was a suicide note or anything like that, or something along those lines. But they clearly had found the papers, and they had asked about some book that she was using as a mouse pad that had fallen apart. Something I had given her actually to use as such. Just I think about Greek tragedies. I can kind of see the connection, but but had I been able to see that, it would have saved me a great deal, I think, of pain and doubt and second guessing. I'm still not sure. There's nothing clear in there that indicates, but it's so clear where her mind was, and that it was, at least at the very end, in a very, very bad place. But likewise, being able to see what was on her computer. Now, my assumption had been they hadn't been able to unlock the computer, and that was the thing they were waiting on. On one side, I have to say, they cleared some things up by the things that they took, right? Obviously they took the drugs she used, but they also took that ratchet and the cornhole bags. And I would have had no idea what she was using those for had they not taken them. In fact, my initial assumption was it had to do with video or lighting, that maybe the ratchet was being used to clamp lights into place, or and the bags were being used to kind of balance things or something. I have no idea. But yeah, obviously they are, after a little bit of searching, they're another suicide method, and the police were familiar enough with that to keep an eye out for it. But, a couple of minutes, a couple hours, because I looked through everything else first on her external drive, gave me access to her computer. I have not looked through everything on her computer. I haven't looked through her writings yet. I wanted to face that, but first I wanted to try to figure out the Tor browser, and the internet died. Somehow I feel there's fate working against me here one way or another. My internet basically melted Sunday. I think I was trying to piece it together, maybe Saturday, I don't remember. Sunday. And, you know, eventually I went back and fixed it, and I remember having to fix this before, and that's why it melted, is that I had some electrical tape around it to hold it in place, and it's going to break again, but at least I know how to fix it if it does. But that's not the point. The point is that, you know, it would have been very, very easy. The amount of time that they spent here searching her room, you know, in terms of total man hours, they had like 4 or 5 people here, including medical examiner and police and whatnot. That amount of time would have easily given them a chance to look over everything she had, decipher her handwriting as well as I could, look over, you know, her computer, probably get the Tor browser working, you know, all kind of stuff like that. So there's no excuse, right, in terms of why did this take so many months? Toxicology, I mean, that was always the excuse, really, was that the medical examiner would not come to a conclusion from the toxicology or whatever. That should be done within a week, you know. But anyway, you know, the materials that were present should have been available to me much, much sooner than they were. And I feel like I've suffered unduly because of how long they held them. I understand if they didn't understand what was going on, if they couldn't decipher her writing, if they couldn't figure out, is she blaming me, is it something else, possibility of wanting to withhold it for a while. But I mean, you know, the things, my constructs of why were so much worse than they are looking at this stuff and the timelines that I was able to piece together, etc., which again, they gave me nothing, you know. It would be incredibly helpful in such a circumstance where they're pretty sure it's suicide to have given me more information than they did. I mean, they gave me information in terms of the drug, etc., but not in terms of any motivations that they might have gotten for her. And clearly, by telling me, I don't think they'd be revealing any secret if they thought that I had plotted this and had put all this in place. I know it already, and if they thought that they were, I mean, preparing something for some kind of indictment or something, which clearly there would be no reason for what was there. You know, that kind of evidence gets released to the defendant counsel. You know, I mean, it's not like they can pull a gotcha in the courtroom or anything like that. And it's not like there was any follow-up. The only follow-ups there were things that I instigated, like calling the police to say, hey, I found another drug here that is linked to the salts. You know, largely I think it was just bureaucracy got in the way and such, but it just sucks, you know, it sucks. And I don't know how much less pain, how much more peace I would have had from it, but I would have had some, I'm pretty sure. I feel a certain sort of resignation now that I wanted to get. There was a book, I think Kipling, pretty sure it's Kipling, not one of his more famous, The Light That Failed. And I remember almost nothing about it, except that as I was reading it, it was not what I hoped, which was Kipling's disillusionment with the empire. I was really hoping that would be what it would end up as. It wasn't. It was just a simple, straight-out story about a man going blind who had been in service of the empire. as opposed to Burmese Nights by Orwell, which is definitely anti-imperial. But for some reason, that just strikes in my head as in the, you know, this is sort of, I don't know, a resignation to the end of, um, I don't know what, almost caring, you know? Um, not, almost like I don't even really give a shit whether I do anything anymore. And not in terms of like being depressive or whatever, in terms of like, I'm not being hard on myself. I'm just like, fuck it, man. I'm not going to be able to die early. And I'm probably not going to be able to take care of my house. So screw it. And if for some reason I can't work anymore, screw that too. I got enough to live, probably longer than my habits will allow me otherwise. um, One thing that I did think about was how I'm taking a certain solace in alcohol, and I'm not talking, I'm not getting myself blitzed or anything very much. I'm, you think about, the 50s lifestyle, coming home and having a couple of drinks, uh, nowhere near that. More along the lines of, what I used to do in Phoenix, where I'd have a drink a couple times a week and a smoke and just enjoy myself, and somehow that just faded away. Sometimes I do enjoy myself. Today, I had like 3 beers, which is huge for me on like not a dance night. But that solace that I was getting from it made me kind of wonder if, I don't know. My wife didn't really drink recreationally much. And she wasn't opposed to drinking. Like if we went out, she would have a beer or whatever. She would drink to steel herself to go out and face the world sometimes. And I would kind of shame her for that because it reminded me of my psycho ex. But something in me wonders if, I don't know, if we had had more just enjoyable nights drinking, somehow that never became part of our life. It just didn't. But it might have loosened her up in ways that, I don't know. And it certainly would have relaxed me in terms of not feeling as compelled to deal or So one of the things with alcohol is that I'm able to get rid of, just as she could get rid of her anxiety of getting out with people, I could get rid of my anxiety about wasting time. I can come out here and sit here and drink and listen to music and enjoy myself or read or whatever. Although luckily I'm taking up reading a lot heavier now and giving up on some of the crap on the computer that was just wasting time. But I just, some of me just thinks that alcohol helps spur a certain level of joy, a certain level of uninhibited willingness to take pleasure in life that is very much lacking in me most of the time. And I think similarly, to tell you the truth, was missing from her as well. This sort of, I don't know, it was like we just followed our routine and took a little bit of comfort in each other's company, but not really a great deal of joy. Joy sits on the shelf with our other friends. She even has a rock for her with her name on it. People leave painted rocks around Eugene. I don't know how many people. But one of my friends, Poopy, is one of them. Found him in a tree. But we've picked up a few. B. But yeah, one of them just says Joy on it. It's like, well, we have to have this. Joy's going to want this. It's her name. But I don't think I ever told you guys where she got her name. I think it was from Dominion, but it might have been like Arkham Horror or something. We were playing a game. Yeah, I think it was Dominion. We were playing a game, and for whatever reason, this little plastic octopus that we found, my wife brought it over to sit and watch us play or whatever, because we're weird, or we were, and I would just, when I got like a bad hand or whatever, something that's kind of a verbal habit of mine, I'd go, oh, Joy. Not in those words. Oh, Joy. And that's how she got her name, basically. She had a hard time. When I left Phoenix, we left her in the Arkham Horror box with a bunch of her friends, all the minis from that. And then when the movers kidnapped everyone, we were really worried about her. I'm very glad to get her back, because she's kind of one of our best and oldest friends, with the skeleton and the little angry man. Why do I wander to these places? I don't know. I really don't. Somehow it helps to talk, to try to share this weird, world that we had, that isn't that important. I also can't figure out which of these shots is actually the tree line that she had. Now, it would have been from down below, but I saw my window that I think it might have been that one. I had always been thinking it was this one. Beautiful, beautiful, cloudy. It was covered with fog, and she used it as her thingamabobby on her Pinterest or whatever. But what ended up, it's what ended up reminding me of that. Not just seeing the shot of these guys. I almost considered taking shots of this tree line, or the other one, more likely. Oh, no, there used to be a crow that would sit up on that tree. The shot of the tree line in different weather circumstances, because, I don't know, as some sort of tribute, but I can't bother doing anything. But, yeah, a friend of mine apparently had a shot of that, of a similar tree situation with clouds, etc., on the mountain. She posted recently a whole series of shots, and it just reminded me of that one picture. I guess that's about it. Cheers.